let's just be real, Jim. I mean, the only thing that disappeared more, or the only thing that disappeared faster than Tennessee was Panda's bean dip.
Welcome to My Gotta Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John Powell and I review Georgia's 27-13 win over Tennessee in the Battle of Unbeatens. And we talk about our day on campus leading up to the game. As always, remember to check out store.mygottapodcast.com to see our latest merch. And you can follow us on social media at MyGottaPodcast. Finally, we'd love for you to check out our presenting sponsor, AxiaTime, at axiatime.com. That's AXIATIME.com. Now, let's join the conversation in progress. What a weekend.
What a day. What a weekend.
I feel like I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to talk.
I wasn't sure if you were going to be able to talk or if you'd be able to hear me.
Yeah.
Like, I figured your eardrums would still be in recovery. So
I did. I literally, when I got back to my parents' house after the game, I went to change out of my wet clothes from the rain. And when I got into that bedroom and closed the door, it was the first time I had been anywhere that was actually quiet. And like my ears were ringing, like legit ears were ringing. It was pretty crazy. So hopefully I sound okay. I can actually talk better than I thought I was going to be. So not too bad.
I think you sound fantastic, Jim. You sound like a national champion.
Oh, seriously. Holy
Sorry,
cow.
Carter.
All right. Speaking of Carter, we got to start with just the day at large. I mean, so for the second time this year, we repeated the formula from Oregon where we got to hang out and tailgate before the game. I went in and you stayed for the tailgate party. But I mean, okay, so let's start off. So I drove to my parents' house Friday night. Again, stopped at Ingles so that I could make bean dip this time, so you could have the bean dip because you had never had Honda Sina's bean dip trademark.
Yeah, which
I'm still not sure how that's possible, but we can talk about that later. That's another episode. But like, holy cow, Will Kaplan, I know is happy that we stopped at Raising Cane's on the way into campus, picked up some Raising Cane's, went in, and then hit like all the tailgates.
Which in retrospect was a solid call because we ate those things throughout the day.
Right.
It was one of those like we were driving in and we were like, do we need to stop at Raising Cane's? Like we don't have to, but I was like, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Let's just go ahead and knock it out.
Which shout out to Kyle. Shout out to your friend Kyle for driving you guys, your whole crew up there and coming to pick me up. That was a big help for me and my family for getting to spend the day with you guys. So that was awesome.
Yes. Kyle is truly elite, a gentleman and a scholar, and his boys are great too. Just a good family. I love my neighbor.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun. I feel like we could spend like an entire episode shouting out people. But I mean, we started off, we hit up Logan Booker's tailgate, got to hang out with Logan. I had never met Logan in person. He's been on the podcast multiple times and we've talked a lot, but I had never met in person. So that was a lot of fun.
Carter got to meet Logan.
That was awesome. That was really
pretty awesome too. You could see him waving from afar. It was like it was like an oasis in the desert.
I loved it, man, because we were walking up. Yeah, we were still a little ways away. And Logan was like, Carter. It was good. Mm-hmm. That was good. He had an elite setup. It was very, very nice. So thank you, Logan. We had a blast. Very gracious.
Yeah, Carter really wanted to stick around, but we were like, buddy, he's got to go to the game. He can't stick around the whole time.
Oh, man. So that was great. And then we meandered. We stopped off by the Wait and Since Last Saturday tailgate and chatted up with Tony Waller for a little bit, kind of en route to game day. So that was a good time. Hadn't seen Tony in a while either. So, and you had never met Tony.
I know that was the first time that, it was, we were trying to hit some firsts here because we interact with these guys for the last like 2 years or 3 years or whatever. And like, it's just nice to play some faces with names, which, as we found with the ATD tailgate people, that's a really cool part of Dog Twitter is just being able to connect and, hang out.
Yep, for sure. And then we hit game day, and I gotta say, man. So we'll say what Carter ended up on TV.
Carter ended up on doing a lot of stuff. We got there. Do you remember what time it was when we got there? Because I don't remember exactly what time it was.
No, because and it had been on for a little while. We were a ways into it.
Yeah, so like we were having to wade through, right? And so it was definitely one of those situations where having kids is a helpful benefit because they were able to weave their way all the way to the front and nobody said anything to them.
Right.
And then so they got to the front and they found a spot right next to the Georgia cheerleaders, and Harry Dog was there. And then when Harry saw them, like they're, high-fiving and talking and stuff. And I guess for whatever reason, like, I don't know, the kid's just like spontaneous like that. Like anytime he gets put on the spot, he comes up with something insane. He played rock, paper, scissors with Harry Dog.
So good.
He played him like 4 or 5 times and beat him every single time. And finally, Harry Dog was just like,
Yes, Carter. Carter is elite at rock, paper, scissors, apparently.
And then he was standing next to, there were 2 guys, you could actually see them pretty prominently on the TV because they were like our spot, like whenever they went to the crowd view where all 4 or 5 of the guys were sitting in chairs. They're sitting out on the stage in front of where the paint squad and the spike squad were on that little green thing.
Yeah.
That we eventually got on. Like that's another thing. Like the ESPN people were like, your boys want to go up? And they were like, sure.
And then I was like, I'm with them.
Yeah, I'm with them. Yeah, I was gonna leave them because I was gonna let them go up there, and I was like, oh shoot, I guess I should go up there and be a responsible adult and not leave my kids.
Right.
ESPN Wolves or whatever. But yeah, they got right up front and they were right next to some guys that were Tennessee fans, and they were trying to like high five Carter and stuff, and Carter would like try to high five him and then like pull his hand back at the last minute and just be like
Dude, he was ripping the Tennessee fans all day. We skipped the part when we were like driving into Athens, and he was like, "Dad, can I roll down the window and boo these Tennessee fans?" I was like, "Yes, you can, Carter."
Yes, exactly. Dude, the kid was an absolute savage all day long.
But can tend to we're not exactly sure. And his friend was like, Kyle's son was like, we need to put a leash on Carter.
Exactly. He was wandering. Carter has a tendency to wander off.
It was amazing. That was amazing.
Yeah, we need a little tether on him because we were at one point where I was like, "Where'd Carter go?"
Right, he was like right behind me in his defense at that one point. I do remember that though. He was like in between us or something. I did in the midst of all that. I know you missed it, but I ran into our buddy Mark Reagan in the midst of all that. I think while you were up at the beginning of the game, at the front of the game day set, so that was cool.
I was the sacrificial lamb. Sacrificial lamb that took the kids down to the into the chaos that was game day. I'm going to tell you that's the most time I've spent at game day and at like ESPN game day in a long time. I can't remember the last time I did that. It was fun. That was fun. I mean, it was awesome for the kids. I know they were flipping out.
Yeah,
they didn't want to leave.
Right.
We had places to go and people to see.
Yeah, we had more tailgates in the dog walk. So
yeah, we really were. We were like a roaming circus of tailgate hopping, the vagabond tailgate.
I'm telling you, I liked that we had our setup. We had like our backpack coolers and our food in a bag.
Yeah, man, we were truly mobile. Mobile tailgating was not terrible. I was actually like super worried that, I packed down all the ice and, the beers and the bourbon and some snacks for the kids and all the waters and stuff that we had.
Yeah.
And I was worried that, man, this thing is like 40, 50 pounds. I was worried at how heavy it was going to be, but thank God for the backpack cooler.
Yeah. My shoulder actually is a little sore because I didn't have the backpack cooler. I had that over the shoulder. So I'm definitely going to be purchasing a backpack cooler like you have. But yeah, then we went to Hug Dogs tailgate and got to meet some more folks over there. Dwight made it over there. AO made it over there. We all got introduced to the peanut butter and jelly drink. Which did you have one of those with the peanut butter whiskey and the grape juice?
I tasted it and I meant to go back, but by the time I went back, like, I mean, there's so much going on, man. I should have grabbed one for myself, but I'm grateful that I got to taste it because it absolutely tastes exactly like a peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah,
I actually might have to get some and let my wife try it because I feel like it would be one of those drinks that she might enjoy.
That was good. That was good. But when we were over there, I mean, you guys fully did the dog walk. I was kind of all over the place. I didn't so much watch. I didn't watch the dog walk quite as much, but that was pretty cool. And got to meet Meg the Jones because she came with Hunter. I had never met Meg, so I know you had. So that was new for me.
Good people, man. Yeah, it was great to have everybody have it. When was the last game that we were all together?
All of us there. But I mean, probably Clemson last year, right?
It had to have been the Clemson game. Yeah. It was like a rekindling of the Clemson.
Yeah. So like I said, we could do this for like 45 minutes.
I know, man. Man, it was so fun, man. I tell you what, like the dog walk, that's something that I hadn't done in such a long time. And we were talking about, like, as Georgia fans, that, you know, we all have tailgates. I think we had talked to Tony, we had talked to Logan, and their tailgates are, you know, kind of further away from where dog walk is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like if you tailgate further away from the center of campus, you know, the center of the stadium or whatever, it's harder to get to for that time period because I think they do it 2 hours before kickoff or whatever. But it's definitely a cool experience, especially if you're not going to the game, because you could still get, like, you know, you get close to the band and you see the lone trumpeter by, you know, without having to go into the stadium or whatever. And then obviously the players coming in. And let me tell you, man, this game was won as soon as those boys walked off the bus. I know you said that you were, I don't know if you had witnessed any of those guys or not. I have a video that I took that I had to go back today and kind of look through because I was trying to think through it. Like, did I get that video? But man, Tate Ratledge and the offensive line, when they walked in, I was like, man, those boys look pissed off. Like they looked absolutely like just like they were about to just absolutely explode in anger.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. And like, that's what I'm saying. Like Tate Ratledge and those guys, like they kind of led the way in. And then you saw all the defensive linemen, everybody came through. And obviously Stetson was Stetson, and, you know, Kirby was hyping up the crowd and stuff. But like, the linemen, man, dude, they were ready to go from the time they got off the bus.
Yeah, I wasn't right over there when they walked by, so I'm glad that you were that close to that and witnessed that to get that vibe, the early vibe check.
The vibe check was that they were ready to whip some ass.
Yeah. Nice. Sorry, Carter. That's okay. And then after that, so after dog walk, I know we went over and hit up ATT tailgate. Shout out Greg as always for that, and you stick around and watch the game from there. So
yeah, that's
you're pretty much posted up there for the rest of the day, right?
That was where we were. They typically have like the over the air multiple TVs. Like there's all kinds of TVs over there because it's like I think it's they have. It's a good vibe over there too.
Yeah.
It's not anywhere else.
But. I mean the whole campus. I guess the last thing I'll say about like being around campus, like, the whole campus was amazing. Like it was definitely buzzing. People were ready for the biggest, you know, highest ranked matchup in the history of Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium. But we noticed early on that there didn't seem to be as many Tennessee fans as we had heard about. Right? We noticed that pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I posted a video on my Instagram, and we made it to at game day. We made it into that green thing that you could kind of see in the background that had the rafters or whatever. So I got like this 360-degree view of the entirety of College game day, and you look out over it, and this is pregame, right?
Yeah,
and it's all red. Like there's obviously like little pockets like here and there, like yeah, there's some orange here, there, or whatever. But like there was like all the hype about we're gonna take over their stadium, we're gonna take over their campus. It's gonna be like seriously. a UGA, visiting Notre Dame kind of situation. None of that happened. There was none of that. Like we were struggling to find like more than like a handful of Tennessee fans here and there. And John said that he had like a bunch of fans that he walked by or whatever that they were coming from a different area of campus, but like I didn't see it. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel anything from. There was no pressure whatsoever. I felt like from any huge contingency of Tennessee fans. And then like when they started showing the stadium, I was like, where the hell are all the Tennessee fans? Where are they?
Yeah, I mean, there just weren't a lot at all. And so what I have since heard is that basically, like in the off season, they sell these tickets, right? And like tennis, from what I hear, is like, in the basically the preseason orders, right? Like season hasn't even started yet. We got to order these tickets. Tennessee fans didn't buy them. So what I heard is Tennessee actually sent tickets back to Georgia because their fans didn't buy all the tickets. So they didn't even use their entire allotment, much less take over from Georgia fans. So a lot of the Tennessee fans that were buying, maybe they were buying some tickets online or whatever off StubHub and such, but like that was it, because they didn't use all their tickets that they got from the school.
So what that tells me is that, everybody talking about the get-in price was like $600 or something like that. Mm-hmm. At one point, I think it was like $3,000 or something. But like what that tells me is that the demand for that ticket was 100% coming from the UGA side.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Like, yeah, it was good to see.
Everybody wanted to be there, and it felt like everybody was there. Like obviously we ran into so many people. I ran in at the first tailgate. I ran into a family friend of ours.
Oh yeah.
I was like, Ronnie, what do you do? Ronnie was sitting right there. Like Ronnie's a big UGA fan, and like he's, is known in our family for always going to the games no matter what. Like always. And so it was just so funny to see him sitting there. I was like, that guy looks like Ronnie. And he looked at me like, and I was like, oh, we recognize it. That is Ronnie.
I know, that was pretty funny. That was pretty cool. There were a couple of Tennessee fans in my section, actually. Let's say like 2 or 3 rows behind us. I'll tell you, they didn't even last through the first quarter before getting kicked out. Nice. It was pretty funny. So because they had beer, and like, we don't sell beer at Sanford Stadium, so it's pretty obvious because they're just sitting there drinking a beer like in like the aluminum like Bud Light bottle or whatever. So they got kicked out. It was pretty funny. But I guess we should probably talk about the game, I suppose. But it
was such a fun day, Jim. Like,
I know the day was amazing. Shout out, like I said, we can sit here and just name people all day, but it was a blast. Thank you for everyone who hosted us as we were going around. It was awesome day, awesome weekend.
Truly humbled and truly, I just feel truly blessed to be a part of this community. And
yeah, for sure.
Just super grateful, grateful for the everything.
Agreed. How about that? Like right off the bat, or not right off the bat, very soon into the game, something goes wrong, right? Yeah. We had that early fumble, where I felt like we were really like rolling. Which one thing I will say, and like, we're always like, play Dejan, get in the ball. That first drive, Kenny McIntosh came out, and like I looked at my dad and I was like, Kenny came to play. Holy cow.
Dude, Kenny absolutely came to play, man. He was running with anger for sure.
He was. And like
he looked kind of like James Cook last year.
He did. So I don't know. The running back rotation that we do, for my nitpicking thing is kind of weird. Like he was so hot. But I don't know. It wasn't anything out of the norm when they switched to Dejan. And then the ball was on the ground a lot. We can get to that later when that kept happening. But how about the defense right off the bat? Right, they get put in a bad situation. We fumble. The offense was seemingly rolling. Fumbles. Tennessee gets the ball, and we hold right off the bat, off the turnover, hold the vaunted Tennessee offense to a field goal. Right. I mean, that kind of set the tone for the game, really. Even though we give up points, but.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, it really did set the tone for the game because I felt like I was like, oh crap, here we go. We fumbled the ball, and then to hold them to a field goal there, you walked away from it. You're like, wow, well, that literally doesn't hurt us at all. Really, it didn't feel like it. It didn't feel like it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And then I think the other thing that happened on the next series, right? So we drive down, like it's like we picked right back up, and so
Yeah,
it's almost like that fumble just kind of dissipated, and then Stetson scrambled for his score, which then we had the first officiating kind of like head scratcher.
right.
Tennessee should have played the entirety of the rest of the game without their starting safety. Like I still don't understand how that wasn't targeting.
I agree. I agree.
I don't understand it at all. If that's not targeting, then we need to figure out like why. Because
yeah,
by the definition of the rules, it literally was targeting. So
yep. Well, and to add to the officiating blunder, and the other thing about that is they called that not a touchdown, like full speed, and Stetson knew it because Stetson instantly went into his cell phone celebration.
yeah, exactly.
Before they had signaled touchdown. So for the uninformed, apparently they got the Tennessee fans or students or whatever got a hold of Stetson's phone number, and they were prank calling him like all night the night before or something like that. So that's where
didn't Tennessee do that to Stafford or something like that? Or
I know LSU did it to Knowshon once.
Knowshon, yeah,
and yeah, Knowshon did the same celebration. So
yeah,
that seems to be the
that's the go-to. Hey man, Stetson was probably here when Knowshon was around, so
nice.
Yeah, he just celebrated his 35th anniversary, right? Or 35th birthday, right?
Seriously. The other thing I did want to call out about that drive, that first touchdown drive, was also there was that deep ball to Arian Smith. So that was like, okay, Arian Smith is back. Announced that, right? And that, I mean, and he just burned the guy. Like there was no double move or anything. He just ran right by him.
So I'm super irritated. I guess that's probably the first officiating blunder because I felt like that he got pulled. They were pulling on his jersey and then they pulled on his shoulder pads. Like he might have had that tug on the shoulder on the jersey not happened. He might be gone. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that continued throughout the game. Pass interference was called on us like all night. But
yep.
Whatever.
So like when we had all these officiating like second looks and reviews and all that kind of stuff, like basically it just felt like that the game was getting artificially elongated. So like our defense I felt like that benefited Georgia because it gave our defense the time to continue to kind of relax, rest, recuperate from anything that they had to do out there, which frankly was not a whole lot of anything, but like if nothing else, it gave our coaches a chance to continue to watch plays while they were. I mean, how long did they do that review with Stetson? I feel like it was like 20 minutes.
That one was long. It was. Yeah, the reviews were ridiculous. It just messes up the flow of the game. Like, yeah, that's frustrating. I can't remember when it was. I think it was on Tennessee's second drive. There was one play where they basically. I don't know. We saw we saw things come together that I thought was interesting. Something that we had talked about, right? Like with like pressure being the great equalizer, right? And I would say in this game actually was pressure and noise with all their false starts and everything. But because it was so loud, they were definitely the Tennessee fans were saying that, well, we run hurry up, so the noise is going to affect us. Well, that obviously was false. There was 100%. One. Yeah, I mean, there was one play where Hyatt did get loose, like as he beat, I think it was Chris Smith, and he had to step on him, and he was open. But again, we saw it was actually just like we had talked about in like the second play I think of last year's game where that happened, like the one time somebody got loose and Hooker overthrew him, and that's what happened here. Like Hyatt did get open, but there's pressure, there's noise, and he overthrew him, he overshot him, and then they never got open deep like that again. That I can remember for the whole game. So
listen, the kid was rattled. Their whole team vibe was rattled. Like everything about them was they weren't ready to play. And I think that if you go back and look at the UGA game last year, like I think when Graham had mentioned this when they were like they like went through us like a hot knife through butter for like one or two series or something like that.
Yeah.
And then like I think Graham mentioned like this is the script. This is how they operate. Like once they get beyond the first few pages of the script, like they're not going to be able to keep up and continue to do this.
Right.
When we were able to hold them to a field goal, on their first series or whatever, like when when we basically held them to nothing. I mean, you had to go to like a few minutes left in the first half. I feel like was when Gary mentioned that a wide receiver had a pass catch for more than 10 yards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Up to that point, I think the longest play was like 6 or 7 yards for them, and they had 6 points to show for it or whatever. Like,
yeah,
there was, I mean, 5 possessions, and they had 6 points and like 3 or 4 punts to show for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, if you'd have told me that they would have punted the ball 3 or 4 times in the first half, I would say that this game ends up being like a 30, 40 point rout. And it really did feel like that it could have been. And I think that when you look back on the season, because I feel that this team is transitioning into truly elite, because it felt like it was a name your score game. And then the rain started. And I think that Kirby just kind of was like, you know what? Let's just pull this back. I mean, Stetson threw 4 passes in the second half.
Yep, I totally agree. You take away the rain. I've seen some off their rocker Tennessee fans being like, "Oh, the rain, we could have come back or whatever, something like that." But it's like, no, if it hadn't rained, we pull away even more. But when you were saying like about Tennessee punting, it made me think of our punter and the 75-yard punt in the first quarter that Brett Thorson had. That thing was unbelievable. Took a great bounce, rolled out on the one, and set up the controversial play of the game to me in the safety that wasn't. I know you texted just a little bit ago, like, can someone explain how that wasn't a safety? And I cannot. I think to me, the way they called it was what the ref said was the ruling on the field is the quarterback fumbled. It was recovered by the offense and advanced out of the end zone. And when I
don't see that. I don't see that at all.
It didn't happen. First off, the offensive lineman that picked it up, he got tackled in the end zone. His knee and hip were down. And then he fumbled it again, but he was down. And then another lineman recovered it where they spotted it. So I don't know if they just explained it poorly, like they were saying it was like a double fumble or what. Because like to me, the only valid explanation would be like, after review, it was an incomplete pass. Like, I don't think it was, but I'm saying like that makes more sense to me as far as like how it was not a safety than they advanced it out of the end zone. It just saying that they call standard was ridiculous to me. So whatever. I don't think they have any justification to say that the call could stand, because he was clearly in the end zone and clearly tackled.
I mean, obviously, like the pass to McConkey was, a few plays later or whatever, but like
it was the next play. Yeah, they go punt, and then the first play was the touchdown at McConkey.
Right. So like obviously it didn't hurt us, but I think I would have preferred to have the points to be able to say you put a safety on the number 1 team in the country, and then there's no stopping our offense. Like, that's why, I mean, with the first few plays of the game, like, we were running the ball with, I think at one point in the middle of the first half, like, they showed a graphic that talked about like the rushing plays and the yards per play, and it was like we were averaging like 10 yards per play, and it was like, man, good luck. It felt like every rush play we were rushing for 10 yards, and if we weren't rushing for 10 yards, we were gang tackling, our running back and pushing him to beyond the 10-yard sticks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. On the Ladd touchdown, I do feel like we have to say welcome back, Ladd McConkey. He looked like his old self out there. Had a nice touchdown from the law firm to celebrate.
The law firm's back, baby.
I got dun. Coach Trill. He sits in my section. He like ran down the aisle. So like my dad and I and my mom, we were all like high-fiving, and then all of a sudden I see Coach Trill Bill, and he's like hugging us. He ran all the way down the stadium and came and joined us. It was pretty funny.
That's awesome. Where was Coach Trill? We missed him on the tailgate situation.
You know what? That is a good point. We'll have to iron that out next time. I don't know. I'm not sure where he tailgates. We'll have to talk about that, Coach.
Yeah, Coach.
Oh man. Too funny.
What was it? All right. So a couple of things. So we kind of talked about the punt. We talked about Thorson, obviously huge killer kick. I mean, Gary Danielson said it on the broadcast. To me, the bigger part of that play was Nyland Green and the way that he was able to scamper down there and get the ball out of the end zone, even though it like get the ball out of bounds, even though it ultimately wasn't needed. He was there as a just in case. And like to me, that level that's like an effort play that I feel like that is just a perfect example of like you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have the effort to put behind it, that to me just shows me that this team is coached completely. Like it was a perfect example of why this coaching staff is so elite, because they get their they get the best out of their players, and that was a perfect example of such.
Yeah, no, that's a great call. That's a great point. Great point. Totally agree. Totally agree.
It's like the Ben Watson play from when he was with the Patriots or whatever that Belichick likes to talk about, like where INT and Ben Watson has to run all the way across the stadium basically to tackle him at the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
Totally inconsequential play. But like in the grand scheme of things, it just shows you the mindset of this team.
Okay, so it's funny that you mentioned Ben Watson. I don't know if you watch like the SEC final thing that they put. That's like the SEC networks kind of end of day wrap up. You need to go watch it, because like when they did the highlights, when they were done with doing the Georgia highlights and their analysis, Ben Watson just had like the biggest smile on his face. Like he was just so happy. And Takeo Spikes was like, "What are you smiling about?" And he's like, "I'm happy." Like it was so good. It was so good. You could proud Bulldog too. Proud Bulldog. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I guess a couple other things in the first half. The last touchdown scored of the first half, the pass to Rosemy Jack Saint was amazing, and the catch was amazing. That was a heck of a play, that touchdown.
I agree, man. Gary Danielson, that's like, he was talking. So everybody likes to hate on Gary, but like I felt like that Gary was actually really good. I know that you haven't seen the whole game, but like, this was a great game that Gary called, because his breakdown of that play was fantastic. Like he's talking about like how the quarterback is trained to throw the ball, where he had to put it, like if it's a few yards lower, like it's a problem.
It was about like kind of aiming it just under the crossbar, basically, right? I think he was saying something about that.
Exactly. They teach you to throw it under the crossbar so that they can actually go up and catch the ball instead of like running into the crossbar, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it was, I think that, we go back to talking about like the gunslinger mentality that Stetson has.
Yeah.
He looked off, looked back, and threw it.
Yeah.
And it was such a tight window, and it's just one of those things, like, it worked out and it was fantastic, and it was a fantastic catch. Like I need to emphasize fantastic catch on Rosemy, man. He had some great moments in this game, let me tell you.
Yep.
Which is just so great for our team as we go down, and having more threats than just our tight ends and running backs and stuff.
True.
But man, he put that thing in a window. But like when he was circling, when Gary was like drawing on the TV, I was like, there's like 4 guys.
Right.
Oh man. And he had that one, Stetson had one where he basically threw it to the linebacker, but the linebacker dropped it.
Dude, that was on the first drive. That was like 2 plays before the fumble.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which, like, in retrospect, like obviously, the defense would have held. And I think that's important to note, because I feel like that as the game wore on, we started to realize that they could not do against us offensively.
No, yeah, sorry, Carter, but dude, no, I mean the defense. I'm gonna quote my dad, and this is from last night. This is not from today, so I don't know if he still feels this way. But when we were walking back to the car, he said, "Jim, that may be the best defensive game plan and execution of the game plan I've ever seen." And he was like, "I'm 72 years old. I've watched a lot of football." It's like, that was impressive. I mean, against that offense I know, like, we had said, and if you subscribe to Dog Central, if you read the stuff that was put out, if you watch the film preview and everything, I think we collectively weren't buying into the hype, but there were a lot of people that were comparing this offense to the 2019 LSU offense, right? And if you want to do that, I don't think they are, but are those same people now saying that, comparing this Georgia defense to, I don't know, last year's Georgia defense, right? Like you can't have it both ways kind of thing. I mean, we absolutely stonewalled them. I mean, all they got, they got the 2 field goals, they got a garbage time touchdown. And frankly, like it's in the second half, I mean, like their most effective play was like getting a flag from the refs. I mean, how many times did they get drives extended by flags? So
the reason that they got the touchdown was because it was like 3rd or 4th down and we had a face mask penalty on them. If you remove that, they're either kicking in, I can't remember where they were.
Actually, okay, so I know you haven't rewatched the second half because I had that same thought walking out of the stadium. That's actually a different drive. So the face mask drive, we ended up stopping them on 4th down again, like 4 plays later. But then the next drive, I'm pretty sure there was a flag on 4th down for either holding or something, defensive holding, and then they scored like right after that. Well, it extended the drive. Oh man, that drive was annoying, but whatever. But yeah, dude, I mean, the defense was incredible. And I gotta call out too, like the Kelee Ringo interception, because
yeah, let's talk about Kelee Ringo just in general. I felt like Tennessee was trying to pick on him the entirety of the first half.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were play after play of going after him. And I will say that like Kelee, he had a holding call in the first half where, it was pretty bad. He had a big chunk yard play to Cedric Tillman, where
I think that's the play you were talking about earlier when you said that's the first pass play over X yards. I think that was that play, by the way. I think I could be
right.
Wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely for like 10 yards or something like that. So it probably was.
Yeah.
But on that play, like Kelee just got shook. Like
he got juked. Yeah.
He got juked. And then when he tried to recover, he slipped, which there was a lot of slip sliding around in this game, by the way.
Yeah. Wet field.
Yeah, it was a wet field.
Definitely in the second half.
But well, I mean, it had rained.
It had rained today.
I was wondering how that was going to impact the game when it was raining on us at game day. I was like, oh crap, here we go.
Yeah,
it's going to be a little bit wet, and everybody's going to be slipping around, and they kind of were. But yeah, dude, Kelee and him were going at it, and then on that play, like he just, next play, that kind of thing. Like you get beat on this play, it's okay. Just go back and win the next matchup, right?
Right.
And that's exactly what he did, man. Dude, that play was so good. He fought that man all the way down for 40 yards. He fought that kid and still came up with the INT. That was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, he basically he got into position, and I mean, he basically became the wide receiver, and he won that inside position, got his head around, watched it all the way in like a dang wide receiver. And frankly, I thought got it interfered with by the receiver, but whatever.
I mean, Tillman helped him catch it. He's like, "Here, buddy, let me hold you for it."
yeah. So that was an awesome moment, and just getting to see Kelee on the jumbotron with the Savage pads. It was pretty sweet, man. That was a good moment.
I part of the reason I went back to watch this because I saw some chatter on the Dog Central text thread that I guess Bia was playing when he caught it and the Savage pads were on.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't pick that up on the broadcast, so I'll have to take your word for it. How awesome that must have been.
It was incredible. It was incredible. That was only Hendon Hooker's second interception of the season, by the way. So,
yeah, I figured. I mean, we talked about it. Like, I figured that he'd be good for a turnover or two, especially once he started getting rattled and started getting you get in his face. I mean, I think the other big thing from our defense, like the planning standpoint or whatever, like. I think we blitzed. What was it? I don't know. I sent it to you guys because someone had tweeted it out earlier this morning. It was like 60-something% of the plays we were blitzing.
Yeah. I mean, and it was things
prior to that. Yeah. Prior to that, we had blitzed like 30-something% of the time. Yeah. And I'm just sitting there like, well, maybe we should just do that the whole time. You're just 60% of the time against everybody.
Well, and it was, the shifting pre-snap that we were doing. I mean, we were bringing guys from everywhere. I mean, we were bringing Javon Bullard, we were bringing Christopher Smith, we were bringing Ryan Davis. Like, it was incredible. I mean, they didn't know where the pressure was going to come from.
Yeah, I agree. I will say again, this is another like hat tip to Gary. Gary got frustrated. He was getting. I felt like he was frustrated with Tennessee, man, because he's like, for 3 years, Georgia has run this defense. they are known for shifting at the last minute, and Tennessee should know that. And here they are shifting, and it's a false start.
Yeah,
like it was like Gary was just getting angry at Tennessee for false starting because they were moving at the last minute. Because that's exactly what it looked like. Like, we shift and then all of a sudden they move.
Yep. Yeah. Which I'm still amazed that that's legal, but we will continue to do it as long as it is. I mean, that coupled with the noise. I mean, I couldn't like hear my dad and mom next to me talking to me. Like the way that I've just never heard Sanford Stadium like that ever. I mean, I've been to plenty of loud games, like we talked about all those loud ones like Notre Dame and LSU.
I mean, the blackout, right?
Blackout. LSU in 2013, Arkansas last year for like the first quarter, I guess. Nothing compares to this. Nothing compares to it. It was absolutely unbelievable.
Man, that's awesome.
I haven't rewatched the entire game, so I haven't really like rewatched the second half. The main things that I remembered, or the big, I guess, thing I remembered. I don't know the exact number, but we had that one drive in the third quarter that I think it was like 9 minutes.
Yeah, I remember. I was like, well, I guess we're gonna get the Kirby Death March early.
Yeah,
because we're calling this game early.
Right. Yeah. Seriously. Okay. So yeah, in the third quarter, Georgia got the ball with 9:53 left in the third quarter, and the drive ended on a field goal with 1 minute and 9 seconds left in the third quarter. That's insane. It's a 15 play, 67-yard drive, 8 minutes and 44 seconds. So unbelievable. I love it.
The Kirby Death March in the third quarter.
In the third quarter. I did get heat of the moment. I got mad when we fumbled in the rain, but I know to be fair, we had also just gotten the ball from Tennessee fumbling and then we fumbled it right back. So frustrating, but I think at that point that was when it was raining pretty hard, I believe. So I guess it kind of is what it is.
We definitely need to work on the wetness. Like, I think we kind of talked about it in the preview, but probably should have given the more credence to talking through it. Like, how big is Hendon weather? How big is Hendon Hooker's hands when he's throwing?
It's a good question. It's a good question. The all important hand size with
because we know Stetson has a huge hand, right?
I believe so. How about I mean, we have to talk about the return of Stickwavius. I mean, fresh haircut. Stetson plays pretty well with a fresh haircut.
So I appreciated Stetson because what he did is that he went right back to what worked in the first game, and that's exactly what I did. So from now on, I'm wearing the exact same game day attire. I got the same fit for every game moving forward because it has worked wonders for us.
I know we did have we don't so much usually solicit questions or anything for review episodes, but we did get a topic request, which was hinted at earlier, or at least mentioned. Okay. Will Kaplan pointed out that Georgia is undefeated when you and I have Raising Cane's pregame.
That's amazing.
He wanted us to discuss it, so I don't know. So, but we will at minimum we will acknowledge this is a fact. This is a fact.
Hey, you know what? Some people come to town and they get Raising Cane's, and some people come to town and they get the full 5-star meals like British Bulldog. We're just carrying your torch, sir.
That's right. Oh man. All right. I think we had a few other things, but did want to give a moment to remind everyone that season 3 of My Guided Podcast is presented by Oxytime. So Oxytime is a custom watch company, and you've got to check out their 2021 Georgia National Championship watch collection. John, we were wearing them It was a good talking point, actually. I know it was like too perfect when we met another friend of yours that we kind of randomly ran into at the dog walk and asked us. He was like asked us about the watches and we were talking about them. So that was a good time. That was a good time. How was your? I talk about like the walking around and having the freedom of it. Do you agree with that for your day? You're not having the watch notifications going around all day, able to enjoy the time in Athens.
Yeah, man, it was awesome. Yeah, I mean, I know that I think I've mentioned it before, but like my watch, I've got a little. I do have a health tracker watch that I have for a Garmin watch. I do for runs and stuff.
Yeah,
which I did my pre-run, which is
true.
Gonna continue doing that. But it often will buzz at me when I have it moved, and so when I was standing still watching the game, it was not buzzing at me to move.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, definitely.
Shut up, watch.
Right. Yeah. You don't have to worry about with these. So yeah, just thanks again to Oxia Time for presenting season 3 of My Guide to Podcast, and definitely go check them out. So you can go check out the entire collection at oxiatime.com. That's AXIATIME.com. And exclusively for our listeners, you can get 10% off of one of those watches by using the code MyGottaPodcast at checkout. So please be sure to go check it out. It's oxiatime.com. All right, let's do a quick. We can do a quick Coach Trillbill update. We actually you stayed in the lead because we had the exact same record this week. Everything was I think the same. Actually, it was pretty funny. I think the only difference we had was like which offensive question we got right, because we both went 1 and 2 on the offense. Everything else was the same. We got the rest of them right. So we went 6 and 2 overall. So you were in the lead and my stats are off, so you can ignore those. But I know you maintained the same lead as last week. So way to go,
it's a push.
Chippy.
It's a push.
Yeah, it was a push. And the only thing I was going to add on top of that was, Coach did have a bonus question that we didn't so much answer, or it wasn't actual over under, but it was, over under on the emotions running for the Dooley tribute. And I will say they were high. I didn't quite make it through it. I did find myself shedding a few tears when they honored Coach Dooley pregame on the Jumbotron. It was pretty cool. It was very well done. So kudos to the team that produces those things.
Did they post that anywhere? I don't know if I've seen it.
Okay, that's a good question. I haven't seen it either. We'll have to put glasses on it. We'll have to see. Yeah. Hopefully, I'm sure they've got to. I hope they do.
It's got to be somewhere. It's got to be somewhere.
Yeah, it was good. It was good stuff. I guess I was trying to think of what else for the game. We mentioned the 9-minute drive in the third quarter. I mean, I guess, definitely late, right? Like, I guess after that was when all the kind of weird stuff happened with all the penalties, where I felt like that kind of kept them in the game. I was super curious about the face mask to see if there actually was one, because I didn't see it in the stadium, but I went back and watched. It was I guess it was kind of egregious. So that was not that was a bad call or anything. That kind of that stunk, but all good.
Yep. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of. So, I mean, I guess on the whole, I'm a little surprised. Like, if I would have told you before the game that UGA had 387 yards, total yards, how would you have felt about this game?
You're thinking like that's probably less, that it feels like we had more or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that we both know, like, we took our foot off the gas to a certain extent, which that, by the way, we like talking about taking your foot off the gas, that kind of bears out in the game cast. Like, we talk about that from ESPN, that I do want to underscore that, like, the way that the win probability worked out that ESPN is tracking kind of tracks with how I felt about the game coming in. Like, basically, we had a win probability at kickoff of 75%, right? That kind of was how I felt about this game coming in.
Yeah.
The lowest that I think that it got was like 68, 70%, something like that, 68%. And then after after about when was it? It was 14. It was 14-3 in the first quarter. It was all right. So there was a minute left in the first quarter, and we hit 93% chance for victory before the first quarter had even ended.
Yeah.
To me, that the fact that we had as many yards as we did, because I imagine like after like the first half, our yardage gains were just in the crapper because we were just running the ball every time, right?
Yeah.
But either way, like I think that we would have thought that we would have been running more yards, if that makes sense. Like there would have been like closer to 500 yards of offense for a game that had this kind of dominance feel to it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I know I was texting with our buddy Patrick last night after the game, and we were talking a little bit about like that whole like foot off the gas thing, and like did we go to the like run it up the middle a little early? And I was kind of feeling that way a little bit last night, and like because the only thing I would say is like as far as like style points go, like I would have liked to bury them by even more just to like kind of leave no doubt and not let them backdoor to the playoff.
I have a conspiracy theory about this though.
Okay. So the only thing I'll say is my pivot to that is like you got to factor in the weather. I think the weather played a big factor into there, especially after Robinson fumbled. I think we kind of just packed it in and we're like, all right, let's just protect the lead, and it is what it is.
So, right, it is what it is.
But I want to hear the conspiracy theory.
My conspiracy theory is that Kirby wants this team to remain under the radar. He doesn't want them to be the splashy, team that the national media is talking about. He wants everybody talking and like, yeah, if it wasn't raining, like we could have gotten more points. And right. you only beat us by 14 points or whatever. Like you only beat us by 2 scores. He wants that he wants them to still have a little bit of an edge, even though I feel like that this could have been a 50 to 14 or whatever score.
Yeah.
I think that he still wants them to feel like they need to earn it more.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can't tell me that having Tennessee be number 1 in the playoff rankings, the talk of both Tennessee and Alabama after their first matchup, now their only matchup, after their matchup, that we'll see them again. There's going to be a rematch, all that kind of stuff. I mean, they heard it and they responded. So that was pretty awesome.
Stetson hit for the magic numbers.
He did
250 yards passing, 1 rushing touchdown.
Yep, absolutely. And two beautiful passing touchdowns. I mean, this was a good game for Stetson. I mean, you take away, there was the one early throw we talked about, right? That the linebacker got his hands on. Mm-hmm. There was a miscommunication, I think, with Blaylock at one point. Like it looked kind of like he threw it behind Blaylock, but I think he was expecting Blaylock to sit down and he didn't. There are a couple of things that weren't perfect. It was one of those games where like there's, I'm sure, coach speak, Kirby kind of thing. I was like, oh, there's plenty on the tape for us to fix.
For sure.
So
for sure. There was a pass to Darnell that he could have had another touchdown pass. That Darnell dropped in the end zone. I mean, it was a tough catch the guy's 6'7".
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
The guy's 6'7", and so he's having to go down like to his hip knee area to try to catch the ball. I guess I can give him a pass on that. There was a pass to Brock Bowers in the end zone where, like, I don't know, it was not a good throw.
He overthrew him. It went out wide.
Yeah. I mean, he way overthrew him. Yeah, and he was like, that's on me, that kind of thing. And then I think there was another, like you said, the Blaylock drop. So I mean, he had multiple drops in there. I think that Graham does a great job about posting those like adjusted like completion percentages and all that kind of stuff, like accounting for drops and stuff. I'd be curious to see what their film breakdown looks like for this. But man, dude, So I'm gonna give the man a shout out. I should have told him when I saw him after the game. So after the game, we kind of hung out for a little bit to try to like give the traffic time to die down, which in retrospect was just never realistic. But so we kind of hung out for a little bit. Also, we were kind of selfishly waiting for you guys to get back so that we could say hello and say goodbye and all that kind of stuff. But so on our walk back to the parking deck from Reed to the Carlton Street deck, we ended up walking in front of the stadium at night, and Carter and I got a picture and took a picture of Kyle's kids and their dad in front of the scoreboard, so we can hopefully see the scoreboard. But as we were walking, I noticed multiple coaches coming and walking into that little platform that they have there that they this recently built for the recruits and all that stuff.
Right.
And I saw multiple large human beings walking out of the stadium at that time, which were clearly recruits of certain degrees and years and stuff like that. But what I thought was cool was like Stacy Searles was walking. Like I recognized him clear as day, saw him. I said, Stacy, like, and he turned around and he looked at me and I said, "Go Dogs." And he said, "Go Dogs." And I was just like so floored. I should have told him I'm sorry I called him. I'm sorry that I called him out. I called his offensive line out earlier this season. And I wanted to be wrong. I've never wanted to be wrong about something more than our offensive line. But man, they've been playing their butts off lately, man. Like there's just no question about it. Tate Ratledge, like I said, Tate looked like that dude in the dog walk, and he played like it too.
I love it.
I mean, let's just be real, Jim. I mean, the only thing that disappeared more, or the only thing that disappeared faster than Tennessee was Ponda's Bean Dip.
Clearly,
because we were at the tailgate, man, and it was gone.
It was gone. I'm glad that I noticed that it was almost gone, so you could have a bite.
I'm so glad that I got a. You know what? I feel like that's what put us over the edge, Jim. I feel like that. You know, I got Ponda's Bean Dip. Now we have to have it every game.
That's right.
now we've got to have it every game.
Hey, I gave you the recipe and the instructions, so I think you should be good now.
Did you text it to me?
No, just verbally. I'll send it to you. I'll text it to you. I'll text it to you.
Jim, I don't know if you know this about me or not, but I had a few bourbons.
The bourbons were had. Oh man. What a weekend. We can't end before saying that I attended my first I ate. I had been there once before kind of, but I ate at the Bulldog brunch this morning. So that was pretty epic.
Man, I'm so jealous. I need to like, I don't know, reserve a room at Stackhorn Lake or whatever, but that's awesome. I need to get a hotel room so I can go to and partake in this, because I am super jealous of that. That's cool. I didn't even think about that. Like I didn't even think about trying to like get a hotel to go to the thing, but man,
that was cool. That was cool. I had talked about it with Lily actually before we left Charlotte that we would maybe do that, because she and I went by there once before to meet up with Jeff Dancer and Kevin Butler for something, and but we didn't eat there, and so she kept laughing. She was like, "We went over here and everyone has all this great food and we're not eating." And so since Lily came with me for this trip, I had brought that up that maybe we should go do that. But shout out to Hug Dog one more time, because went with the entire Huggins family. So with Jason and Hampton, Dana, and Lily and I went and ate with them, and it was a great time, a lot of fun. And all I'll say is the bacon wrapped shrimp, the gumbo, and the red mule grits are everything that Jeff Dancer says they are.
That's so funny. Not a sponsor. Yeah,
not a sponsor, but I definitely ordered like what he says. So it's pretty funny.
Please give me the Dancer special. Speaking of gumbo, Hunter, if you're listening, we need to get the Hunt the Jones gumbo. Like,
yeah, seriously.
That was discussed, and I was told there would be gumbo.
Nice. Oh, too good. Well, I don't know. We're running a little long for a review. I'll just mention, like, man, Alabama, got back home last night and watched that game. So I'll say this: if mathematically speaking, neither the East nor the West are over. Nothing is settled yet. No one has clinched. But in the West, it looks like it's pretty much a 2-team race at this point between LSU and Ole Miss, and we can talk about that a little bit later. But obviously, still Georgia and Tennessee are both alive mathematically in the East as we look forward. But man, things are changing in the SEC.
Things, yeah. There's definitely winds of change blowing from the west.
Right? Yeah. Seriously.
I will also say that marquee win that Tennessee has over certain opponents that shall not be named is starting to look less and less substantial.
True.
Given our results against them.
Right. Seriously. Very true.
And conversely, our win versus Oregon is starting to look better and better by the day, because I believe as of recording, they're one of the best offenses in the country. The most successful in terms of success rate, they're the most successful offense in the country.
Yeah, man, they have looked very good ever since they've looked very good when they've played teams not named Georgia.
Oh, it's the story of their life. It's the story of everybody's life these days.
Oh man, it's what a time to be alive.
These are the good times.
Man, it's pretty crazy. Well, I'm so glad that you guys came. True. Also, we were kind of dancing around it in the preview because you hadn't told Carter that he was getting to come yet. So we kind of danced around it a little bit, but I'm glad you guys made that call. It was great to see you guys and get to spend the day with you. What a day. I mean, I think, everything lived up, other than it wasn't a close game, but like Dog Nation was out there. Everything delivered, the atmosphere, the whole game day experience for that huge matchup, the highest ranked matchup in history there. So lived up to it. It was an epic weekend. It was awesome.
I do think that, I'm going to riff off of something that Will said, that, UGA is undefeated when we've had Raising Cane. UGA is also, I don't know if you know this, dear listener, but UGA is also undefeated when the full contingency of My God a Podcast is on location.
This is true. Oh, man. Love it. We just got to do this more often.
Yeah. Sorry, Lindsay. I've got to go.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, we will be back. Oh, go ahead.
I was about to say, we've got Starkville coming up.
Yep, as I'm saying. Yeah,
this was the dark horse trap game that we talked about preseason.
That's right. So we have to study up on these guys. They had an overtime win. There was another overtime game in the West. So they had an overtime win over Auburn. The Bizarro Bulldogs did. So yeah, man, we'll be back later in the week to preview that game, to preview that night game at the wrong stadium.
At the Bizarro Dog Stadium.
For sure.
And it was good. It was good hanging out. Good seeing Ponda and Lou on location as well. But yeah, man, what a great day. And I just love seeing everybody out. Hope to see y'all again soon. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.